Good day, Don Tooth for Engineering TV, talking to Alex Lidow of Efficient Power Conversion about GaN's future. Where is GaN going?
Well, Don, GaN is really going to change our lives, and it's already started. The technology is much faster than silicon. The devices are much smaller. We're much more energy efficient, and now we're actually lower cost. So there are many things that are changing, and one of the most exciting ones that we see today are these autonomous cars. You know, it's all the word out there is these autonomous cars are driving themselves. Whether you like it or not, they are going to happen, and one of the reasons that they can happen is because gallium nitride powers these LIDAR systems, light distancing and ranging, which fires these beams of light, and it measures how long it takes the light to get back. And by doing that, it can create a three-dimensional image around the car very quickly. So you can instantaneously know where everything is around the car, whether it be a stop sign or a child chasing a ball. And because of the speed of that, which is because of the speed of GaN, autonomous cars are going to be a reality. They already are. We just need to make sure that they meet our social needs. And you know, it's that same technology, that LIDAR, that's making augmented reality possible. We've seen these HoloLenses and Oculus Rifts and things like that. They all are allowing you to not just see in 3 dimensions behind some glasses, but actually interact in your environment. And the interaction with your environment comes from LIDAR systems in many of those cases. And again, that's gallium nitride because of the high speed and ultra tiny size and energy efficiency that those augmented reality glasses can last longer on a battery and can be smaller and not burn your head because of the low efficiency of silicon.
What about wireless power? I hear about that. Do I really believe in it?
Well, it's happening right now. You know, we've all gotten used to wireless data transmission, whether it be through our cell phones or through our computers. We don't need cords anymore for that. Why do we need cords for electricity? Well, the answer is we don't, and a lot of it's thanks to gallium nitride. We are going to cut the cord. You know, an example over here is this center console of a car. You know, the cell phones now are starting to power the entertainment systems of our car. Soon they'll be powering the navigation systems of our car. And because of that, our cell phones are also running out of battery while we're driving. And, you know, fiddling around, trying to plug them in, that's not such a good thing. Well, with this kind of a center console, you can just toss your cell phone right there anywhere in the center console, and it'll start charging. And that'll keep its battery live while it's powering your navigation system or your entertainment system. And that's just one of many examples. Wireless power will get rid of the power cords, get rid of the extension cords, and maybe even power our electric cars on the road over the next 10 years.
All right, well, we talk about wireless power in terms of cell phones and so forth, but I know you and I had a conversation the other day about powering floor tiles in order to help get electricity around a room without a plug.
That's right. You know, eventually the transmitters will be in our floor tiles. It's very low cost, and the entire home can have these little transmitters so that you can just put a floor lamp wherever you want, never plug it into the wall, or put a TV on the wall and not have to drill a hole to get a power cord to it. Everything we have in the home can be powered wirelessly, from your toothbrush to your power tools to your appliances in your kitchen.
All right, I see in our pile of props here a pill. Now, how does that relate to GaN?
Well, gallium nitride is not just you know, good for things like wireless power. It also is creating medical breakthroughs. And this is a good example of it. This is actually an X-ray machine miniaturized into a pill. Now, because GaN is so small and because it's so fast, you can squeeze an entire X-ray machine into this pill and allows you to do a colonoscopy. And that colonoscopy occurs while you just exist for 3 days, and it wirelessly transmits a 3-dimensional image of your colon to a receiver either on a wristband or on a patch, and then you just send that in. You don't have to recover the pill, and you have a colonoscopy. But that's just one of several medical breakthroughs. You know, gallium nitride is allowing MRI machines to be much higher resolution, 10 or 100 times higher resolution, so you can detect cancers and other flaws earlier and easier and less expensively. And also, the wireless power of gallium nitride is allowing you to power heart pumps without wires coming through your body, or pain stimulators, which are needed for people with diabetes. So in every aspect of medical diagnosis and treatments, there's a role for GaN, and it's making a big difference in how people treat diseases and how they live with chronic problems.
I find myself using the cell phone more than I ever anticipated. Does GaN have a role to play in making cell phones even more ubiquitous?
I think it does. We already talked about how cell phones' battery life is getting worse and worse, and that we can recharge it in our car or even in our home using wireless power. But more than that, the cell phone is getting to consume more bandwidth from our base stations. And you know what? That's going to get a whole lot worse the minute we get into the Internet of Things, because they are all going to be talking on that cell phone network along with us. And it's going to get worse unless we go to bigger bandwidth. Enter 5G networks. In the next 3 to 5 years, we'll start seeing the 4G become obsolete and 5G networks coming online. Now, gallium nitride plays a big role in 4G networks already, but the role gets much bigger in 5G. And the way it works is something called envelope tracking. And it's a magnificent way to save a lot of energy, and as you go to wider and wider bandwidth, it saves more and more energy.
That sounds kind of whizzy, but can you, I can't envision what envelope tracking might be.
As you want to transmit data, what happens is that you send a signal, and the signal is called a carrier, and then you modulate the amplitude of that signal in order to send the information. If you want to send more information, you actually have to make that amplitude higher and the valleys lower. And what happens in a normal transmitter is that as you do that, all of the energy in those valleys gets burned up as heat. But if you can create a power system that tracks those peaks and those valleys very carefully, you can recover all that energy. And that makes your transmitter much more efficient. For example, in 4G, it can double the efficiency of the transmitter. Here's an example of a 4G microstation. It's a 100-watt transmitter. Our devices are right here, and it has envelope tracking. It's from New Edge Signal Solutions, and it has an envelope tracking system on a 4G LTE transmitter. And it saves about half the energy. Now, as you go to 5G, it saves 2/3 to 3/4 of the energy. And you can imagine, as time goes on, we'll want 6 and 7G, and that becomes a bigger and bigger problem. And gallium nitride is a big element in solving that.
Can we back up a little bit and talk about energy efficiency in general?
Yeah, gallium nitride is smaller and is faster, but it also allows us to do energy conversion more efficiently. And every time you use power, there's a conversion process. Overall, gallium nitride's efficiency improvements could save 10 to 15% of the world's energy over the next 20 to 30 years.
Let's change the topic a little bit and talk about the gallium nitride technology itself. How is that evolving?
Yeah, gallium nitride is a relatively new technology. Silicon's been around for 70 years. Gallium nitride really only about 5 or 6. So we're going to see very, very rapid progress here in the next several years and even in decades. We'll see a Moore's Law type of performance improvement year after year after year. But in the short term, we've already broken the price barrier with silicon, but that's certainly not the stopping point. We can get less and less expensive every year. I think that in the next 3 to 5 years will be 1/3 to 1/5 the cost of silicon with equivalent performance in the world of power. And not only that, but we're taking gallium nitride to even higher frequencies to allow things to get even smaller, to allow your cell phones to become more efficient, to allow base stations to become more efficient. We're making more and more complicated integrated circuits, much like silicon's Moore's Law of twice the transistors every year. We're doing the same thing with gallium nitride to make power electronics more integrated, to make these pills smaller and smaller because we can integrate all the components. And then we're going into the world of high-speed analog and even into digital circuits with our gallium nitride over time. Later this year, we're going to have a whole new generation of gallium nitride, our 5th generation, which will once again be smaller and more efficient and lower cost than the prior generation.
Where do people go to find out more about these applications?
Well, they can come to our website where we have drop-down menus for applications and markets that we've talked about today, and you can find that at www.epc-co.com.
Okay.
Thank you.